So back to what I was saying.
What's up, friends, family, and fans? It is I, your most favorite person in the world.
Not while I'm sitting here. Oh, hold on. This is what you not gonna do.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is Stone Stafford, your host. Sitting along with the other host.
He fixed it, baby. Thank you very much. Okay, little backstory. Because Simone, I don't even think he knows this.
Can we do that once we start?
No.
Cue the music right there. All right. So when I say we do it once we start, just cue the music. All right. So what are you talking about, bro? Now that you done broke up our format.
So what you did was got me in trouble because my wife proofreads. Is what I'm gonna call our episodes when we put them out.
She was listening.
Yeah, that's what she was doing.
She's not proofreading.
Well, no. She's not
listening.
No, she listens to correct the errors that's happening.
First, it wasn't an error. It's a preference.
Okay. Well, I mean, she heard you call yourself the host and call me the co-host, and she said, "Wait a minute, baby."
But when you have two hosts, then when you
Then
talk
both
about
are-
one, then both are the co-hosts.
But see, the way you did it was, I am your host, and
Because I introduced.
I'm
but
just-
if you introduce, you'd be like, I'm your host, Johnny Bond, with my co-host, Stone.
We are your hosts.
my management. That's what you. Yeah.
So, in case you don't know
my
what
management
channel,
was
in case you
correct.
don't know what podcast you clicked on, this is L.I.F.E, where we listen and inspire friends in entertainment. Welcome, y'all. Sorry for the hoopla.
It wasn't even my grievance.
For the haberdashy hemoglobin type of intro. Shout out to Tony Baker. Yo, we are having our next installment of our Come Up series, and we are sitting with the lovely and the talented Simone Torres.
Again, what you're not gonna do is downplay Simone Torres. You gotta say,
I was gonna get into all of the multi-platinum Grammy nominated engineer, vocal producing, talented, beautiful Simone Torres. Cue the Is that better?
that's how you do it. That's
It
it.
has got to be
Thank
the
you very
worst
much.
intro of this podcast ever. But Simone, welcome.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
sorry you had to witness all of that tomfoolery.
No, I love it. I'm here for it.
A lot of it just
100%.
has to do with the fact that I'm really happy and giddy right now because this is the thing. Simone is a friend of mine, like a real friend of mine. Like and I haven't seen her physically put my eyes on her in 3 years, and it's just I'm excited that she's here because I thought we were going to be
too.
doing this via the Zooms.
I'm so glad. But just happened to be in town.
Happened
Me
to
too.
and
Look
surprise.
at
I don't
that.
know if she surprised me on purpose, but like
Look
was
at
here. It's like,
God.
hey, Jay, I'm here. I'm like, what? So yeah, I'm just kind of giddy right now, like on some schoolgirl stuff. So that's all.
So to be clear, so you guys understand who we are sitting with. Now, every time I say Simone, I swear I'm trying to hold myself from saying Biles.
don't do that.
I'm not. It's just out of because I don't know any other Simone.
Wrong
Yeah, I mean,
complexion,
Simone-
You're like
different
that.
There you go.
industry.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with it. She's literally the only second Simone I kind of even.
That's
really
good.
know.
Simone's a unique name, I
Yeah,
guess.
I love it. So she, as I said, so Simone Torres, she is a multi-platinum nominated engineer and vocal producer, which usually when you're a vocal producer, you can go ahead and slide in that they're a vocalist. And we'll talk about that a little bit. She's from New York, right? She's from New York. Some of her credits, and you've heard her work on like Normani, Jessie J, Camila Cabello, Cardi B, Monsta X, Sia, Kane Brown, Usher, Superfruit. We can go on and on and on and on and on. So when I say she's legit, she's legit. What up?
What up? Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for tolerating us.
Thank you
we
for
really
coming.
appreciate
Oh,
it.
stop. I'm so happy to be in Atlanta.
So what brought you to Atlanta? Anyways, it's happenstance.
Yeah, so I went to Berkeley, went to college for this, moved to LA afterwards because I wanted to work for Cucurell. And he was working on Anti at the time. I had done a lot of things to try and make it so that I was someone that could be valuable to intern even for someone like that for like the past 2 years. So I was like, bet, going to LA, gonna make it so that I can intern for Cucurell. I get there, I'm working part-time jobs for a company, you know, an AV company, which is where I met my friend here.
We're not talking about that
We'll
though.
talk about that. Yeah.
That's not on this podcast. That's something else.
But yeah, so ended up finally meeting with him. It's a long story, but met with him and then started interning for him. And like a month in, he's like, if you want to keep working with me, move to Atlanta, because that's where he was based. And I was like,
Right.
bet. So I had been in LA September to December, and then I moved to Atlanta and was in Atlanta for like 5 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
You said something in there that is going to strike a chord with me. You said you wanted to go somewhere, or I don't know if you said somewhere or if it was specifically with him, and you said you wanted to make yourself valuable.
Yeah. So
Talk about that.
yeah, so I'll speak on that because So I didn't know that vocal production was an option. I didn't know it was a thing, a career, anything until I learned about kook in one of my classes. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is like the perfect culmination of, I had come up as a singer. I started gigging with my dad when I was 9 years old, singing at weddings, corporate events, 2 to 5 times a week until I graduated college. So I'd been a singer for so long. I loved the engineering side, loved that part, but I didn't know that vocal production existed. So when I learned about it and I learned about kook, I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want to do. And he is the best at it. Like, you know, that was at his level, you know, that's real. And I was like, that's who I want to work for. So then I was like, okay, how can I make myself valuable to somebody like that? So like I interviewed people that he had worked with before on his workflow so that I could practice it before I got the chance to be in front of him, so that, you know, that gave me a leg up. I sent different kinds of promo things to his office, didn't hear back. I tried, I learned how to build mics and take them apart, and I worked in the tech shop to, you know, be able to do that skill. I learned how to tune vocals. Like I would just record myself singing bad and like practice doing that, because I was like, okay, I could bring that kind of value there. And I also had a business degree. I was like, cool, like I could help with that kind of stuff too. So I was just honestly trying to figure out any way that I can make it so that if I had that opportunity, you know, luck is when preparation meets opportunity, right?
Yeah, hey, love it.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Man, so let me get this straight.
Yeah.
So you didn't wait.
This is where Stone likes to get preachy.
You didn't wait until the opportunity came and then got prepared. Do you mean to tell me, young lady, you had the gall and the audacity to go out of your way and put forth effort to prepare before the opportunity? Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. How dare you want to succeed?
How dare you want to succeed? I almost feel like sometimes Stone has this disposition that everybody just wants to fail and nobody wants to do any hard work.
Oh.
No, I think
or maybe it's just the people in his circle, because he just always seems surprised when he runs into somebody that does the pre-leg work.
Just a breath of fresh air, man. No, that is
so
awesome.
funny.
That
Be careful, Simone. He don't ask you to
you.
come work for him. Don't get snatched up.
I probably can't afford Simone. All right, so that was awesome. So how did it finally break open?
So I had told everyone and their mom that I knew that I was trying to make this happen. And so one of my teachers at Berkeley, Prince Charles Alexander, I had told.
Shout out to Prince Charles.
PC, to PCA.
That's his real name, y'all, by the way.
Prince Charles. And that's who I learned about. It was in his class I learned about kook. So he knew. And so I was singing at the Berkeley commencement concert for our graduation. And I had Carl Beatty. I don't know if you know Carl.
I know Carl.
Yep.
I know the name.
So he came up to me backstage one night. He's like, I heard you're trying to get in contact with Kook Corral. And I was like, yeah, you know, of course I am. And he's just like, we're going to try to help you make that happen. And I was just like, oh my God. And so I go about my life, right?
The plug.
Then Carl fades into the distance, whatever. I get a text.
Carl. Shout out to Carl.
No, Carl is the GOAT. So I get a text one day, like July, commencement was in May. In July, I get like a text because I did summer semester. And it was just like, hey, this is Cody, Kook's assistant. Like Kook says you could text him. And I'm just like, oh, okay, bet. Like, meanwhile, I had tried many different ways on my own to get in contact and I couldn't. And so I was just like, oh my God. And then he responded when I texted him. He was just like, bet, like, let me know when you're in LA. And I was like, cool. So I'm going to move to LA. And so then I moved to LA.
Not like I'm going to fly out there to meet, but I'm going to move.
Going.
I'm going to move because one of the people that worked with him, Miles Walker, who I had interviewed, I knew that he was working on Anti in LA. And I was like, bet, I'm going to move to LA. So 5 days after graduation, moved to LA. Got an apartment, mattress on the floor, got a job working part-time at this company called PSAV because I knew that I would be able to support myself with that, but it was part-time so that I could make my own hours. So if I could work for Kook, that I could still support myself while doing that. So that turned into a whole thing that was able to support me, which was great. So I did that, and I was in LA, let him know that I was in LA, and then crickets. Right?
Moved out here for nothing? Is that what's
so I get out here September. I'm just like, bet. I was like, let me get settled before I text him. And I remember I was at Hugo's Tacos in Studio City, sitting there like telling my roommate, okay, it's time. I'm going to text him, thinking that this would just be like a thing. And he's just like, great. Like, hope you're settling okay. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then, so a few times it happened where like he would he would agree to meet with me and it would fall through because he had things going on. But I had made myself so prepared that at all times I had a bound thing in my car that had like letters of recommendation specific to me working with him, like my resume, all this stuff. And I had a pressed dress shirt always in my car because I was like, okay, I don't know when this is going to happen. And so there are a few times that this, like, it almost happened. I would like wait around. He'd be like, oh, I'm in the studio with so-and-so. I'll let you know when I'm done. And so I would just like hang out in the area because my traffic was really bad from the valley to there. And I was like, okay.
So you got there early? You got there early. Continue, please.
Why can't people just tell stories around you?
Yeah, it's so funny.
Because he's dropping nuggets. They can't afford to miss him. Like, these are things that get glossed over. Here's why. And I
everybody saw Drumline.
And I am interrupting you.
You're on time if you're 5 minutes early. You're late if you're on time.
Right.
Everybody knows that.
And we're listening to the story, right? So people are hearing I have the press shirt probably, or they're hearing all the big stuff. But it's the little stuff, like I got there early so I wouldn't get stuck in traffic ahead of time. Like it's those tiny little things that actually make the big difference. And so I'm being funny about it and maybe a little rude cutting you off, but I can't afford for the listeners to pass that up.
Anybody who's been to LA knows you got to get somewhere early so you don't get late.
You know what? Same with Atlanta.
It's kind of here too,
but it still don't work. So
same with LA.
But please continue. But I'm only interrupting just because you really are giving some good gems.
Just to give you some backstory, a lot of this stuff goes out to the babies, the younglings. Who were you before you moved from to LA? It's the kids who consume that, and they haven't seen like the whole. They see the glitz and the glam. I love it when they come to Icon.
That's what I want to talk about, though.
And
exactly.
They walk around, they see the plaques, they see all that stuff, and they think that stuff just magically happens. And they miss
my
the
first
beginning.
plaque I got for something that I did for free. Like. That's the thing. So like that part of the journey I really want to touch on, and even like working for the AV companies and like doing all that stuff. Like I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but I used to go work AV from like 7 to 7 and then go be with Kook at whatever session he was at, just change in my car, go be there until the next morning and then go back to the other place. Right. And like, that's just, you kind of do what you got to do for a minute, you know, like, but going back to what I was saying, so anyway, do that a bunch of times. It fell through. 3 months, like a month and a half in, I'm starting to get a little discouraged because there were a bunch of times where this was falling through and I was not taking anything full time. And I started to get other offers at that time. And I was like holding out for Kook. I had an offer at the Village because I could just go the normal runner route, like as an engineer there. And
are you getting these offers because you actually applied to these places?
I'm going out and like networking and doing all that. Right. Yeah. And through relationships, like through
So
Berkeley.
You're not putting all your eggs necessarily in one basket. You're still...
No, I was prioritizing that basket for sure, but I was making sure to still be talking to other people. And so, my friend, I remember I was at a restaurant with my friend. She was like, just try one more time and be like specific about how you're asking. Be like, I'm in this part of town. Would around this time work? And I was like, okay, that's kind of forward, but I'm going to try it. And so then I did it and then it worked. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so then I just headed there. And I remember I was so nervous and I had been spending so long just trying to make it so that I could be someone valuable to someone like that. And I met with him. And one of the first things he said to me, he was like, you could work for whoever you want. Why do you want to work for me? Work with me? And that to me was just so crazy because I didn't care about anything else. You know, I was just like, like, who am I? And so, that's from that day I started working with him. And then that was October.
All right, I got to pull a stone.
Yeah.
I have to pull a stone right now.
Yeah.
So the small thing in that is in that whole process, because I kind of went through something similar, you made yourself so valuable that somebody valuable saw you as an asset to somebody else and wondered why you would want to be there. The level of focus and dedication it takes to do this. I've had someone say the same thing to me. Like, why would you want to be here when you could go do anything else? And then you don't even realize all of the work I did just to be there for you literally did open every door for me. But it is still what you want to do. Yeah. Like that's the whole shoot for the stars, but if you miss, you still land on the moon kind of thing. Like it's a hyper laser beam focus that people forget. And I think that's even more so important than actually, no, I'm not gonna say that. The being on time stuff is definitely important. But making yourself better than what good enough is and making it an afterthought. Yeah. Because I know how good you are. Like I've seen you walk into rooms where you were in my arena and I'm like, damn, I'm gonna go home because
Oh,
she don't even need me here no more.
stop.
Like, but I mean, that's the thing. Like everything that I've watched her touch, she zones in on it. She's like, she wants to learn every single thing about it. Right. And even back when I was still tracking, before I quit tracking, I just went to mixing. I would have interns come in the studio and they'd sit, and they wouldn't ask a single question. Right. Because all they want to do is be a producer.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't you want to understand how this console works? Right. Have you mastered signal flow from analog to digital back to end? Like, do you? No? Yep. Okay, cool. Right. And then when production doesn't work out, now you don't have a job because you've pigeonholed yourself into doing one thing. Hey. Yep. So I think that's one of those things that you definitely don't want to gloss over, is that in saying everything that you did, all of the work you put into it, making yourself valuable to that also made you valuable to everybody else, and it gave you options. That's and having exactly options is the biggest, that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And I will say, like, even then though, I didn't know anything. Like, I mean, even in learning all that stuff, like so much of what you learn is when you start your career and you're around people like that, and you go, like, I mean, you go to school and you study all this stuff to get you to a certain point. But to me, I feel like I feel like when I started with Kook, yes, I had learned a bunch of stuff prior to, but I feel like that was the beginning of more of my education, obviously. Because when I started engineering, I came from knowing nothing about engineering or producing. I just did it because I was a singer for so long, and I was sick of... We had these scholarship portfolios that we had to do for Berkeley. And I was sick of, I had been singing for so long. I had no recordings that I was proud of. And I remember there was this one guy who charged me like $400 to hit record on 2 songs that I had brought karaoke tracks to, me singing it through once each time, wouldn't let me punch anything, 1 take each, no auto-tune, no reverb, no anything. And I was like, this is so dumb. I need to learn this on my own. Like, this is, I'm not doing this anymore. And that's why I got into engineering in the first place.
I was ask how you got into engineering.
Yeah, because I mean, I had been singing for so long. I had no recordings that I was proud of, and I didn't know how to communicate what I didn't like about them. I just knew they didn't feel like me. Right. And I didn't know. Yeah. So anyway, that's why I started doing it. I don't know where I was going with that.
No, but actually, I was going to ask you why engineering. How'd you get? So basically, you were like, I could do this myself.
Yeah. I mean, I need to learn how to.
You need to learn how to do it.
Yeah, because I was sick of putting that power in other people's hands.
Now, was it a thing where once you started doing it, then you literally or genuinely enjoyed it?
Oh, yeah.
And it became it, or really? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it because I always loved math. My mom's a calculus teacher. My dad, my
that
grandpa.
That explains a lot. That explains so much.
I just got nauseous.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always loved it. Well, because my mom made math fun, and my grandpa was like the head of his math department too. And so I thought engineering was so cool because I was like, wow, this is like the STEM behind the music. Like, and that's so cool. Yeah. So I got super into it. But then when I figured out vocal production was a thing, I was like, what? Right. This is crazy.
Now, you went to Berkeley College of Music. Excellent school.
Thank you.
I would call it the Yale of music schools, right?
Oberlin's out there, but yeah.
Well, you have Yale, you got Princeton, you got Harvard. So
this is true.
Pick one.
Yeah.
So, do you think that going to school now, did you go to school for music business or just for business?
Oh, so at Berkeley, it's everything's music.
That's what. Yes, that's what I figured. So, do you think going to a music school, right, like people call them, do you think that helped?
I think that it helped. Yes, absolutely. And the networking piece, though, was everything. I mean, like, that's the education piece. Obviously, you learn so much. Okay. But the thing that I think makes a school like Berkeley worth it is the networking. Like, even like now I'm working on there's just infinite colleagues that I have that are all Berkeley people. And it's like, oh my gosh, we were peer advisors together. Oh my gosh, we were mentors together. And now they're at X, Y, and Z positions that it's a beautiful thing.
I want to harp on this, because this is where I screwed up in my career, and I don't know if it was intentional arrogance, but there were a lot of organizations and groups that I probably should have joined when I went to college. I was bitter about my college days because I never wanted to go. I literally went so my mom would leave me alone. I did network, but I mean, I was already kind of working prior to getting to school. But I didn't tap into a lot of those things. I didn't do the peer advising. I didn't do the counseling for the up and coming kids. I was so focused on working. And then when it actually came time to really network in the industry, when everybody was out, I had to build those relationships then when they could have been built in school. Look, now I had relationships with people like Stone, people like Ian, people like Billy Clark out in the West, like people who I could call and ask questions to and stuff like that. But like those people who you would hang with, right? You need somebody's couch to sleep on. Like those things were the intangibles that I did not have because I was so focused on work. So for the first 4 years after school for me, I didn't have that. I run into people who I'd worked with in school, did projects with that. That didn't really exist for me because I was It was a solo thing. So I think that's a really, really huge thing. Like if you go the education route, and this is a completely different conversation because I have my views on, formalized education.
Which is why I wanted to ask her about that, because so many people, they ask me, should I go to this school?
Yeah,
should I go to SAE? Should I go to blah, blah, blah?
I definitely want to get to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, like if you choose that route, don't just maximize the educational part, because like what Simone said, like she learned so much there. And I mean, I learned a lot in college too, but the first thing you learn when you get out there in the real world is the pros and amateurs is complete. You can literally throw half of the stuff you learned in school out the window because it doesn't.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes.
And this isn't trashing the school.
Absolutely not.
But
at
I just
all.
want people to understand what you really should be getting from there. And I've always said that to people before. And I used to speak at Kennesaw State all the time, the College of Music over there. And I held up this one kid's book, and I was like, "This right here is not why you're here. So all this money you paying for this school," and I waited and I threw it on the ground. I was like, "This is not why you're here." I say, honestly, you can go to YouTube University or Google College for that.
Yep.
But I said it's the networking, it's knowing how to work with people, getting along with people you don't like, da 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 da. So
learning how to learn,
and to do it from someone that lived it, and to hear it from someone that actually lived that, is big.
So you're super hyper talented. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. I mean, we know that, and I mean, anyone who hasn't heard you as a vocalist, they will be blown away.
Thank
Let me get a little riff real quick. Just hit me on the spot. Go ahead. Hit it. Hit it.
I'm not here for that. I'm here to talk about the vocal production.
Girl, you here to do what I ask you. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait a minute. Oh my gosh.
First of all, she's Hispanic from New York, so I already know what that is. There's a razor blade somewhere in the tongue and cheek. Shout out to Maria Lopez, East Side Trenton. But
I was just gonna ask why.
A little riff.
Maybe later, Stone.
Y'all are so funny. I don't know. I've always been so weird with that that. Like when people are just like, sing.
Dude,
I'm just like,
somebody finds out I work in radio. Do your radio voice, like,
dude.
what?
It's like,
what? So I know. I would
back
never
when I used to do adult
films.
films. That's another thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
But go ahead.
Whip it out.
all right. Well, anyways, we were talking about education.
Why did you choose? Why did you choose school? Because like just like all of your prep, I'm gonna ignore this. That I actually got sucked into that. I hate when I let you bait me and then I actually jump off the cliff.
So education.
Why did you pick that? Because I mean, again, you had options other than Kook because of the preparation.
Yeah.
School before college, you had options because you had a lot of preparation.
But I didn't then. I mean, I did. So I started gigging with my dad when I was 9 because he started an entertainment company. He was a parole officer. They cut his overtime. He used to be a DJ. He used to rap with Biz Markie and like a bunch of people on Long Island. So he was like, okay, how can I make money? Started this entertainment company. So I started singing and gigging really young. But for me, I didn't know my options really in college. In high school, I wasn't that into school. Like I really liked math. I never got bad grades, but I never like super excelled. I did like some AP classes, whatever. For college, I thought my options were I learned about Berklee, and then other than that, I thought it was just be a music teacher. You know, because like at that time, like I mean, it wasn't really. I never saw anyone like me producing or engineering. I didn't know what that was, you know. And it's a super male dominated industry, as we see. Like there's been like some amazing, women that have done it, that are doing it, but I didn't know about them, you know. So I'm there, and I'm just like, okay. Honestly, the suburbs that I was from on Long Island, that was just a given. You go to college and that's what you do, which I think it's just so upsetting because now, everyone comes out, not everyone, but a lot of people come out with all these student loans that are ridiculous that they're never going to be able to pay off.
Right.
And it's like you could have learned what you did in some instances on YouTube, on lynda.com, on from the library, like from all these different resources. So for me, it was just kind of, unfortunately, I didn't feel like I had a choice. It was just, I was going to go to college. I was going to take out loans to go to college. It was just a matter of where I was going. Right. Berklee was the place that I wanted to go the most, obviously. And I just want to talk about this a little bit because it's a little...
Go. Let it be broke.
Because I'm just going to be honest, because I worked 3 jobs throughout college, had 2 majors, a minor. I was a peer advisor, a mentor, all these things. Because I was like, if I'm going to...
nuts.
Oh, I was a crazy person. I just didn't sleep. I was a crazy person because I was like, I'm taking out all these loans.
You're still running on caffeine now.
I'm good. I barely drink caffeine now.
I know you're from Long Island, but you're from Jamaica, man. Is that racist? I don't know.
I don't think
anyway,
so.
Moving on.
Anyway, my point is, I was like, okay, if I'm going to be taking out all these loans to pay for school, I'm going to make the most out of my experience. So I was like, I'm not going to just let anything go by. And so I just threw myself into everything. And that's why the networking piece, like, that's so much of it. So I think that for a place like Berkeley, I think it's worth it if you're able to do that. If you're doing all the extracurriculars, all the things where you're going to meet all these people, push hard, whatever. If you're just going to go, it's very easy to skate by in a school like that. And then even for any kind of college in entertainment and what we're doing, everything's changing so quickly.
You can't really live off the school's name anymore. Yeah.
It's not even the school's name. It's about even the education, right? So you learn how to learn. Like the things that I learned about like Pro Tools, like whatever, that's like expired now. I mean, like we're so much further ahead in how you produce and how you do things, whatever, than we were even when I went to school. So it's not really that you go for. It's you go to learn how to learn, to gain a network of people that are, because everyone's going to grow with you. Yeah, you all start at the same level, but then this head of publishing is your person that you used to go and like play music with, or like etc. And that's where the value comes. Like all different A&Rs like that are just like, oh yeah, I need a vocal producer. I remember my friend used to do that. So I think when you're making that decision, you kind of just have to. It's where the value lies for you, and don't just think that you have to go to school to do this, because you do not.
Yeah.
It just depends how you want to get to where you're going.
There's so many tentacles in that, but there's one thing that you said, and we may have to come back to it. This may be a two-parter for real.
It's gonna be.
But very possible.
Yeah. No, it is.
Yeah. Okay. But before you went to school, like you said something, so you never saw it.
No.
And right now, with everything, we're starting to hear the phrase representation is important.
Absolutely, it does.
I'm not. Please forgive me if I get this wrong.
No.
I believe you're a board member with Wham.
So I am a board member for not Wham, for We Are Moving the Needle.
Okay.
So it's like WATM.
Gotcha. got my acronyms wrong.
Watton.
For We Are
I'm with
Moving the Needle. So so that's founded by Emily Lasser, who is an amazing mastering engineer. And so I'm a board member for that. But I also do things with Women's Audio Mission. I've done stuff for them for a long time. But representation is so important. Like it's so cool that even recently Mattel put out like a producer Barbie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Super cool. That's the thing. And I'm very involved in a lot of these organizations and doing things like that, because that's what it is. Like you have to be able to see it to be it. You know, I'm a big believer of that.
Sure.
And so, super important.
So, okay. you go through all this work to make yourself valuable for this one thing. And it has now made you an advocate.
I've always, but to be fair, even in my days at Berkeley, like I was a peer advisor and I was a mentor. So that meant that I tutored kids in engineering and all that kind of stuff. And I had a group of students every semester that I would like advise and mentor. And I've had countless female students that would come up to me and be like, oh, like I'm really interested in the engineering piece, but I don't know anything about it. And I'm like, you're in college for a reason. You come here to learn, but the thought process is like, I mean, all the guys would make it seem like, oh, I've been doing this forever. I've been like blah blah blah. Even when I started, I had to work so much harder than everybody else because I knew nothing about that stuff. But anyway, it's been something that's always been super important to me, and I'm really grateful now to be at a point where I can help other people.
It's interesting because like I watch you move through that stuff, and it seems like you do it effortlessly. Because I mean, you meet some advocates and people who speak up for the lack of representation and lack of visibility. Like my wife is really big on it now. Like she's starting a company, and her main focus is to target creating opportunities for BIPOC people, like mostly primarily women.
Yeah.
When I meet female engineers and female producers who are doing it at the level that you're doing it at, again, gracefully, and I know you, so with the lack of arrogance, but then you're sitting on boards, you're coaching up the next generation of people. Like at some point, it's got to feel heavy. Like it's got to feel like you're swimming against the current at some point. Like how do you actually get through that? Because the industry is changing.
Yeah,
we're
for
seeing
sure.
change
In a beautiful way.
But the gatekeepers are still there, so to speak.
100%.
So there's still challenges. Like how do you maintain pushing through one for yourself, but you're trailblazing in the process?
I'm very grateful to come after some like really amazing women that have done this, like Susan Rogers, Anne Mincelli, Leanne Unger, so many amazing engineers. Like even Susan and Leanne were teachers of mine at Berkeley. Like I was lucky enough to have teachers like of that. And there's just so many people that I've like really pushed and I think done like a lot of the legwork. I'm really grateful now to be at a point where it's seen more as an asset than anything. The fact that I'm a woman doing this. And I think that's super cool. I'm really grateful to be at a point in time where that is what's happening. In the beginning of my career, definitely got a lot of pushback. I have a lot of stories, but I'm grateful to have made a name for myself at this point in my career so that less of that happens, and the times are changing, so less of that is happening. But even like my management team, my day-to-day and my main manager, both women. And I don't know, it's difficult, but I'll actually tell a story about that. When I first started my engineering career, 2016, I was engineering Jessie J's Rose album. It was my first week doing it, and we were working at a studio it was in LA. No one knew me at all. I'm like starting my career. And I was working on Pro Tools, and this guy who was the engineer at the studio comes up to me and was explaining to me like how to solo things, how to like do all this stuff. And I was like, I'm good. Like, thank you. Like, I'm good. Thank you. Just assumed I didn't know how to like hit S like on Pro Tools. Like, I'm good. Thank you. But it's just like, thank you. And then Kook really likes it when his talkback button is on a specific side, and he hates when it latches, because like some of the systems, like it'll make it so if you press it less than 3 seconds it'll latch, and that shit is so annoing. Sorry, cursing is bad. And that stuff is so annoying when you're tracking.
She's a fake. No, I was kidding.
I don't know. Like,
just be you.
Okay, but that shit's so annoying when you're tracking. And so I had worked in tech for so long. And so I had asked the engineer there, I was like, oh, any way that we can get a different switch? And he's like, no, that's just how it is. And I was like, okay. And so I went back. I was staying with my friend at the time in LA, my friend Dan. We went to Micro Center. I built a switch because I had like Googled the schematic for the console that we were working on, and I learned how to, where to plug it in the back of the module. And so the next day, he walks in, and I was like behind the console, like legs sticking out, whatever. And he's like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, like, Kook needs a talkback switch that's on this side. And so I just built one. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, I just built one. And he was like, oh. MG. So then from there on, he respected me, right?
So you got an a real engineering degree. Like, you thought you just meant audio engineering? No.
No, it is audio engineering.
She's building circuits and shit.
But no, I worked in the tech shop, and to learn how to do that stuff, because I knew that would bring more value. My point in saying that is, it's like, I shouldn't have had to do that, but like from then on, that person respected me, and it's like, okay.
And of course, he told that story to everybody, and then
I need pasties right now. Y'all, make sure y'all tune in next week as we continue our time here with Simone Torres.
So back to what I was saying.